If it's too late to worry and you're too blue to cry, then get ready for Dr. Laurie Roth. She's a Ph.D., black belt, host, singer, songwriter, mom, gun owner, survivor, and red-blooded American through and through. From 3,000 feet up in the mountains of Washington, it's the Annie Oakley of the airwaves. Ready or not, here she comes, Dr. Laurie Roth.
Welcome to this hour of the show, folks. Lines will be open if you'd like to come on board. 877-999-7684. My guest this hour is Darren Thompson, and he has studied the Middle East. He studied Iran prophecy. Some of you believe in that, some of you don't, but you have to understand that everything that the Bible said was going to happen is actually happening in front of our eyes, and history's unfolding in general. So it's rather fascinating. So open your mind and let's hear what Darren Thompson says. He's written a book called Living in the Age of the Ram and the Goat. Iran and its role in Armageddon. You've heard of that term. Is that real or not? You decide. Welcome aboard, Darren.
Hey, it's great to be with you. It's a privilege.
Thank you. Tell the folks, build a case for your background. I mean, you've studied prophecy and history and things. What is Iran and its role in Armageddon? I mean, and remind people what Armageddon is. You know, you hear movies, big movies, the world's going to be destroyed. And a lot of people don't realize that that's actually based in discussions in the Bible.
And certainly it is. And the case that I would make here with the things that are going on over there is that there's certainly a lot of excitement about what's going on in Iran, and certainly a lot of fear with that. In my book, what I've done is I went back and did a re-look at the prophet Daniel in the Old Testament and his vision of the ram and the goat, and it seemed to me to be a pretty close correlation with the things that are going on in Iran. And to sort of bottom line the vision for you, what I see going on right now that we see that sort of pop out of the prophecy is this sort of scenario where we pull out of the Middle East, and we're doing that right now. President Obama, right now he's making deals with the Taliban so we can pull out of Afghanistan, and then he's also made the policy decision that we're going to revamp the Department of Defense to where our next emphasis is going to be our new concern, which is China, and so we're going to pull out our forces out in the Middle East, and we're going to concentrate over here in China. And I believe what's going to happen there is that's going to open the door for Iran to invade Iraq. But when they do it, they're going to have a partner. According to the prophecy, it's not just Iran, it's Iran and the descendants of the ancient Medes, the Kurds. And they're going to work sort of hand in glove when they invade Iraq. And the prophecy goes on to tell us something that was kind of unexpected. And also the invasion of Turkey and Saudi Arabia. And that's going to allow Iran to control 2/3 of the world's oil supply, and Iran's going to use that to blackmail the world.
Hang on.
Sure.
So let me track this for people who haven't read this in Daniel. Okay, so you're saying Daniel's describing that Iran, with the Kurds, is going to attack Saudi Arabia and Turkey?
That's what I'm proposing, yeah.
Okay, so they're going to attack Saudi Arabia because, what is it, a Shiite-Sunni thing, kind of a thing?
Yeah, the reasons that
Hold that thought. We're going to come back after this message, and then you can dive in and help paint a picture for the folks.
All right.
Interesting stuff.
Her name is Dr. Laurie Roth, and here she is again, right now.
We're talking with Darren Thompson. He's the author of Living in the Age of the Ram and the Goat. And you were just starting to paint a picture of Iran and prophecy coming out of Daniel and what it says. And let me follow you for people who haven't studied that. The Bible actually implies that, well, says that Iran will align with the Kurds and they will attack Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Okay, continue it from there and paint the picture so people understand what is said.
Okay. Let me take you back to the prophecy then.
Okay.
Daniel's prophecy about the ram and the goat, basically the picture goes like this. He introduces the ram first, and what he says about the ram, that it's got two horns, and each one of those horns represents a different powerful group. One and there's an angel that explains it to him and says, these two horns represent the kings of the Medes and the Persians. Now, as far as trying to translate that in modern-day terms, the Persians we understand that. That's the Iranians. That's pretty easy to follow. What has sort of been lost in time is understanding who the Medes are. And of the modern-day tribes, groups over there in the Persian Gulf that claim to be the descendants of the Medes, it's the Kurds. It's reflected in their language and their heritage, and they claim it proudly. And so that identifies the two groups. Now, as far as the prophecy goes on to say that this ram starts out from from Persia, and it moves west, and then the ram moves north and then south. Well, what's west of Iran is Iraq, and what's north of Iran is Turkey or possibly the Caspian Sea, and what's south of Iraq is Saudi Arabia. And so that's how you end up with the individual countries as far as the prophecy is concerned.
Okay, and from there then, so we're watching this unfold. We look at things currently in history like Arab Spring, which is really like Arab regime change to Muslim Brotherhood. Is that all playing into what Daniel says?
Absolutely. What the Arab Spring is causing to happen there is the rise of the Kurds. And it's allowing them to become very powerful. The Kurds as a people have they've been dominated and sort of trampled for the last 2,500 years. And it's only within the last 10 years where they've begun to rise. We see that in Iraq with the Kurds, during the period of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, gassed them. And as with the Iraqi war, as we went in there and sort of turned things around, then the Kurds gained their own area in northern Iraq, and now they have this autonomous region where they have their own government. And right now they're very powerful in Iraq. They within the last month, they've had these oil contracts that they've made with Exxon and didn't ask permission from the Iraqi government that was controlled by the Shias. Excuse me. And then you had this kind of bizarre scenario where the Sunni vice president is basically sort of running for his life from the Shia president of Iraq, and he goes to the safest place in the whole country, and that ends up being the Kurdish area in northern Iraq. So they are sort of dominating the things that are going on in Iraq, and so they're very powerful. Now you can look at the Kurds in Syria. If you start watching what's going on with Assad in Syria, one of the things that if you pay attention and start sort of connecting the dots here, if Syria goes the same way that Iraq does, in the sense that Assad weakens and he has to make some concessions to other groups in the country, and the country ends up being split up in the same sort of way that Iraq is between Kurds, Sunnis, and Shias. That one of the things that you notice about the Kurds is where they're located now in Syria puts them in a very powerful position, because where their people are located in Syria, they're sitting on top of all the oil in the country. So that puts them in a very, very, good position, if they have to bargain for their future in that country. Then, if you look at the Kurds in Iran, we see that they're tied with some of the that the Israeli Mossad may have been using them to assassinate the Iranian nuclear scientists, and on top of that, Iran may have been using, or Iran has made threats against Turkey in regards to Syria, that if they didn't back off, that they were going to use the PKK, a Kurdish terrorist group, against Turkey. So we see that the Kurds, it's hard to turn around in the Persian Gulf area without running into some sort of circumstance where the Kurds don't have some kind of influence.